about to present the main attraction of our world-famous show.
Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Reign Over Me, the Atlanta Reign podcast. As always, I'm ShyGuy, and joining me on the other line is my main man, Norcetto, joining me this time from Atlanta, Georgia.
I am in Atlanta currently. Had a whole week of events that I've been fortunate enough to go to. But yeah, I'm happy to be back. We took a little break, but I'm ready.
Yeah, took a week off while the league was on hiatus between stage 1 and stage 2. And normally, this right here at the beginning of the show would be where we talk about news and things that are happening with the team. But it's been kind of a quiet week. We don't really have a whole lot to talk about here. To be totally honest,
Nothing's been happening. I mean, the Twitter account's been completely silent this week for sure, right?
Yeah. No signings, no players, retiring or any of that jazz. Okay.
Let's do it.
Let's rip the Band-Aid off.
Dufran, why? No. So Dufran is retiring from the Overwatch League. He had his stage, he had his fill, and he has decided to step back and go back to the comfy streaming life. His words, not me just trying to throw shade there. But he is now an official streamer with the Atlanta Reign, and he will no longer be playing with the team on stage for the rest of the season. So, sad news, understandable. What was your reaction to this?
My reaction was mostly just being really surprised because, I mean, we know that Dufran is a volatile dude. We saw this in the preseason when he told us he was retiring and then he unretired. So, I mean, it's not exactly like out of nowhere, but there really wasn't any sign that, he was having problems this season. He was playing very well, like for the most part. He seemed to be enjoying his time with the team, like living it up for the fans and, living the Overwatch League life. But, I guess on some level, it's just not what makes him happy. And there's no way I could ever begrudge the guy for doing what he thinks is going to make him happy.
Right. And it did. I think you're absolutely right. He seemed to enjoy everything. Every time he tweeted out, he was talking about how much fun he was having. And, he had spoken a couple of times about he wasn't sure if he was going to go more than one season. This is something he always wanted to try out, but especially with his volatile past and stuff, the pressure of having to perform and having to stick with it for so long was an issue. But having the Reign staff and Seffi, someone he's worked with before, really encouraging him and not pressuring him to stay, just telling him, hey, we want you. If you want to play as long as you want. I think that gave him the opportunity for us to see him on stage. And from what he said, he told the staff about a week before the stage finals that he was going to be retiring at the end of the stage. This wasn't something he just, had a moment on a stream and decided to walk away. This is something he told people in advance, stepped away at a clean break before a meta shift. And as much as I would have loved to see him stay the whole season, I can't, like you said, I can't begrudge the guy for knowing what he wants and knowing that this isn't for him. He's grateful for the opportunity, but he gave notice and took a step back.
Yeah, I mean, and on that note, I gotta at least applaud him and give him some credit for how professionally this all went down. Yes, it kind of took us off guard a little bit, but he handled at least this part of it about as well as you could have. It didn't, come out from a hasty tweet or him kind of raging on stream. This
right.
was, well thought out. And he's making the decision that makes sense for him. So, I really wish Dufran the best of luck going forward. I would thank him for the time with the team. He brought us some really incredible moments during his brief time with the Reign, and I don't think he'll be kind of forgotten at any point soon.
No, and he's still going to be flying that rain flag on his stream and everything. So we will always be a member of the family for sure. And yeah, hopefully he'll make it out to some events here and there. I obviously can't really hold your breath with him being out in Denmark, but yeah, I do think he's still part of the team in a way. But man, that left a pretty big hole in the team, wouldn't you say?
It definitely did, and I think to an extent it still does, despite the fact that you talked about the team as a family. Well, this family has grown considerably, even despite the departure of DeFran here. We've got a huge number of signings coming in over the past few days.
Oh yeah, it's been, and now not all of these are for Atlanta Reign in particular. We had a new two-way player picked up, we had an academy player picked up, and we had a couple of direct signings for the team. But we can start out with the academy and two-way players. We had Bird and Funny Astro picked up. Now, Funny Astro was picked up as a two-way player, and he's British. He's a streamer. He played on the London Spitfires Academy team, and is one of the few people to have ever beaten Fusion University in contenders. But he is a very, very talented high-ranked Lucio player that is going to be bringing a lot of talent, and with being a two-way player and working with the Reign coaches, a lot of that coaching potential to the academy team. And then Bird, he comes over from Second Wind, which he was only there for a short period of time. He was with Square One before that, but he's coming in on that flex support role, that Zenyatta role that we had lost that on the academy team with Dogman moving up, and they tried to flex Saucy over to it and bring in Perfect. But it looks like they may not have been happy with that. So this is that's two signings right there are really going to bolster the academy team specifically.
I mean, I think the Bird signing especially is gonna be huge, just because I mean they did a decent enough job filling in for the flex support role, but you're always gonna want to have someone who is on their primary position playing every spot, and he is an excellent player. We've seen the Second Wind has produced a lot of really, really good talent over the last few months in that tier 2 scene, and he's just another one who has gotten to move on up to an academy team, start collecting a paycheck. So I'm really happy to see that guy get his shot at a team. He's another player. Like, Atlanta at this point seems to just be collecting all the young guys, because I think Bird is 15. It's kind of crazy how much young talent they are accumulating on the academy team, and I like to see that a lot.
Yeah, for sure. Now this that's two new players picked up for contenders, though, both supports, a main and a flex support. So I'm wondering where Ajax is going to fit in with them having three supports at this point, and where between Sugar Freeze, Saucy, and Perfect, how that's going to shake out. So at least they have more flexibility now, because they have been running with a very, very slim 6-person roster. So maybe they'll be swapping around. Maybe they'll see what works best. But I think this is good to encourage the players to stay sharp. And yeah, I'm looking forward. We actually have a game tonight as the time of this recording, so I'm looking forward to see how that shakes out.
For sure. I think that we're going up against XL2 in that game, so that's a big one. Both those teams have kind of dropped from being two of the best in contenders last season to kind of middle of the pack right now. So that's kind of a prove it game for both of them, and of course there are good reasons for why both of them have dropped a little bit in the standings. But that'll be an interesting one to watch. But let's move on to the real reason that we're here, and that is of course the Overwatch League team. And we got Funny Astro there on a two-way contract, but I can't say I really expect to see him play much in the Overwatch League. I have no reason to think they would ever bench Masa at all. But we do have two new players signed to the Overwatch League team proper, and that is BeBAMF and Fried.
That's right, and that The Baby Bay pickup was, I mean, obviously a huge shock, pulling him from shock. But he has not stayed on the scene pretty much any playtime this season, being a DPS player. And with us having, lost a friend, a lot of people say that Baby Bay's Soldier and things like that are maybe not up to Defran level, but comparable in a lot of ways. So, that's the man filling the role, the shoes that Defran has left. So, but that was a huge pickup. I don't think anybody actually saw that. I saw one guy on Reddit predict it, and he was very proud of himself. But I don't think I've heard anyone else that wasn't surprised by that pickup.
No, for sure. I think you definitely had to be surprised by that to an extent. It wasn't a name that I really saw thrown out there a lot, or one that I personally expected. I kind of saw them going with someone maybe like a Logix or a Davin, maybe even someone like Fisher. Players who I think were on the either academy teams or tier 2 teams, rather than going out and picking up a player already in the Overwatch League. But like you said, Baby Bay is another hit scan player who, he last year was kind of a Widowmaker specialist for the Shock. Before his playtime kind of fell off towards the end of the season. Once Widow fell out of the meta a little bit in stage 4, and he got supplanted a little bit by their other DPS players. But I still think he is a pretty talented hit scan player. I'm just not 100% sure how deep his hero pool really is.
Yeah, I mean, long story short, it's just been a while since we've really needed a high ranked hit scan player in this meta. With it, tracking definitely matters when it comes to Zarya and goats and stuff. But I think this is leading up to what these teams are at least hoping is a change in the meta. I know there's still fear that goats is going to prevail after all of these changes and nerfs and buffs and everything around trying to kill goats, but that's definitely still needed. We still have Inlayer on the team, who is more of a kind of flick specialist than a tracking specialist. So they fill slightly different roles. But yeah, I'm really interested to see what the meta shakes out to be, and if Baby Bay becomes our Zarya bot, or if he's allowed to kind of flourish, kind of what we wanted to be able to see Defran do before he left.
Yeah, I do think it really kind of hurts when you look at, if you were talking about Baby Bay as kind of a 1-to-1 replacement for Defran. I think it's a significant step down, because you could argue all you want about whether their soldiers and their hit scan play specifically is on the same level, and I don't think it's like a massive gap there. But Defran seemed to have an ability to kind of pick up anything and play it really well. Like his Torb was nuts. He became a Zarya player really quickly. During the off season. It wasn't something he had been known for before this season, and came out and was at least mechanically really, really impressive on that hero. And I'm not sure that Baby Bay is going to be the same kind of flexible player who can really pick up new heroes that rapidly. But we will have to see. It's been a long time since he's gotten an opportunity to really prove himself. So who knows? Maybe he's incredibly hungry. Maybe he's been grinding during the off season and just didn't get his opportunity on the Shock. So I will reserve judgment until we actually see him on the stage.
Yeah, that's fair. Like I think he has a ton of potential, but again, it's been a long time since we got to see him play. It's been a long time since a lot of hit scan DPS was relevant, and yeah, but maybe he's just really hungry. After being benched for that long with a player like this, it probably just really wants to play, and I can't really fault him there. But Baby Bay was not the only pickup. You talked about Fried, who is that one to me came out of, like, if Baby Bay shocked me, then Fried came out of nowhere. Like I did not see us picking up another off tank player. We have our solid tank line from between Popo and Dako, and then Gator is a two-way player, so to bring in another full-time off-tank player, just, again, did anyone actually see this coming?
Definitely
but,
not. I could never have imagine that this was going to happen. I mean, this is another guy who was on second wind up until this most recent, this current contender season. Now, up until now has been playing for Gladiators Legion. But he is a much more traditional off-tank player. I think honestly, there is a chance we see him play the Zarya if Goats remains meta.
Yeah.
I definitely think that's a possibility because neither BeBAMF or Inlair have ever really shown us that hero pick. Erster played it a little bit during stage 1. To kind of mixed results, was
Erster
not
came in way
crazy
down.
good on it, but was able to flex into it in a pinch. So I think that's a possibility if Goats does remain the dominant meta.
Yeah, just if Goats comes in, just lean hard into it and be like, we're not playing our DPS on a tank, we're just playing tanks. I can see that. I could absolutely see that. But this pickup leaves us with I think that's 11 signed players. That leaves us with one spot. Is my math correct here? Because that leaves us with double everything if you count the two-way players except a projectile DPS. And
that is true.
And that's one player away from being able to have full-on internal scrims. But even with players like Kasaurus on the coaching staff, you can absolutely pull that off right now. So something we learned from season 1 was that the teams with enough people to actually, scrim themselves and test things out they wouldn't feel comfortable testing out in scrims versus other teams, that could be a huge benefit to not only making a better team, but if anybody can figure out how to break the meta, I think someone like Sephi, who kind of thinks outside the box with a lot of comps and came up with like the selfless, aggression, and then you have Gator who helped come up with Goats to begin with. I think they could do it. If they have enough drive and they have the people to really get in there and screw around and experiment, I think they could pull that off.
Yeah, I mean, and obviously we'll get an opportunity to talk about this a little more in depth a little later, but there are a ton of kind of massive changes in terms of balance and hero changes. Brand new hero coming in to the league for stage 2. So there's a lot kind of up in the air when it comes to that. No one is entirely sure what the meta is going to be. I've seen a lot of rumblings lately that it's going to be Goats or Winston Goats still sticking around for a while, but no one really knows. But we'll get more into that a little bit later. But now we definitely have the tools to be able to play nearly anything.
Yeah, for sure. I think that I just really hope it works. I hope the meta breaks and we're able to see. I've been wanting to see like Erster let loose on like a Pharah or a Genji so bad since the beginning, and now that we have someone like, and obviously DeFran, and now someone like BeBAMF, I just want to see some DPS.
No, I'm right there with you. But we'll get into that in just a little bit. But for right now, let's turn back. I mean, it's been a couple weeks since we got the chance to talk, and more than just the signings and whatnot, the player movement that has happened over the last few days. We also we had one game in the meantime there, and that was the stage 1 playoffs, where unfortunately we did go down to Philly, losing 3-1 in a really close series, but weren't quite able to get that revenge from week 1.
Yeah, it was a really close series, all things considered, but like it felt very much like Atlanta was kind of on their heels a lot of the time, like trying to make ground. Now that we opened up really strong. I was really excited on the opening drive and everything, but the Philly kind of found their footing and played their game, and they just kept finding ways to win fights that Atlanta should have won, or slide on and cap the point when Atlanta should have been on the point. But like it just, it was. I think the teams were very equally matched, but I think Philly got in our heads, and we made some misplays, and when it came down to clutch moments, Poco bombs and back caps,
Yeah, and the one thing to mention there, I don't want to harp too much on this game in particular, because I do want to take more of a kind of a bird's eye view looking back at the stage as a whole in just a minute. But the one thing I will say here is that I think Philly's experience, and especially kind of big game experience, really served them well in this match. When things got really hectic and it was in those do or die moments, they seemed to barely kind of edge Atlanta out. And there were some mistakes coming through from Atlanta, some poor graviton surges from Dufresne that Poco gobbled up, some weird ultimate usage where people kind of probably got, a little panicked in those huge moments. And that is one thing that I think any team in the Reign will get better at over the course of the season. Next time we see them in playoffs, maybe they don't have as many of those moments.
Yeah, for sure. And I think something that was I think one of the on-air talent may have said this, is that Atlanta has shown themselves to be a very, very emotional team. And when they say that, they mean that, when they're winning and they have momentum on their side, it's hard to stop them. But when someone can get in their heads or can kind of trip them up, it's like it's a little harder for them to pick themselves back up. And I think that that's something looking over the season in general. I think they have a lot of inherent confidence where they're coming into games expecting to win. They feel that they have the ability to do it. But a lot of those games where they were caught off guard, we ended up kind of fumbling through a little bit. And that, like you said, the more we play together, the more we have those big games, we'll get that stuff straightened out. But yeah, just looking over, like you said, a bird's eye view of the schedule, a lot of these games that I'm looking at and going, oof, this Gladiators game, this Chengdu game, it was a lot of just being pushed on our heels and trying to kind of figure things out as we were getting behind.
For sure. And I mean, in that Philly series specifically, if you think about at least maps 2 and 3, where the series kind of swung back in Philly's favor, those maps are really kind of backbreakers and really play into that kind of emotional aspect that you were talking about. They were both such close maps. I mean, Volskaya a little bit less so, but losing to a back cap like that never leaves you feeling good as a team. Like it always is deflating. I don't care who you are. When that happens to you, it hurts. And I think it was hard for the team to come back from that. And Philly definitely, I think, looked improved from their showing throughout the regular stage, and they're still a really strong team. So there's no shame there. And if we take the chance here to kind of zoom out on stage 1 as a whole, I gotta say, if you had told me before the season started that this team was gonna go 4 and 3, they were gonna make the stage playoffs, even if they were gonna flame out in round 1, I would have been ecstatic about that. That is a really impressive showing from an expansion team in their very first stage to be at least at certain moments considered among the top teams in the league. And even if it kind of fell off a little bit towards the end of the stage, with I guess it wound up being 3 of the last 4 games being losses, I still think Atlanta's got to be pretty happy with how stage 1 turned out.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is a lot of the players, including Dufresne, that's what they wanted. They wanted playoffs. And you don't. That's a huge accomplishment, even if you don't make it further. You're looking at the season as a whole and everything. These games don't necessarily matter for the record. Just making it there is such a source of pride. And yeah, at the end of the day, we performed in the finals just as well as New York did, right?
Hey, yeah, that's actually true. We performed better than a lot of teams really did. At least if you look at map record and how close we were to being able to take that series. So because a few moments go in the opposite direction, and that is absolutely a different a completely different series. And Atlanta could have found themselves in round 2, and we would be sitting here and we would just be our thoughts would just kind of be to the moon. We would be so happy with how they performed, I think, if that had happened. But I'm still ultimately incredibly pleased with how they performed during stage 1. It was a very fun kind of opening to our Overwatch League success or just kind of career or run.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I don't know a single fan that's not proud of what's been accomplished in stage one, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to the rest of the season. I think everyone else is too, and I think that everyone just needs to keep their head up with that performance. It was huge.
Yeah. So looking back, got a couple questions here. Looking back at stage one, what was your kind of favorite moment from the stage as a whole?
Oh man. Okay, so this one's definitely a little personal because it was that first watch party that I went to, and that's something that I had been itching for forever. But that first game coming in against the Florida Mayhem, and it was Florida, right? That was the first.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, yeah. The first week. I'm looking at the schedule and it was stage two. My bad. I was like, am I that
Like,
crazy? No, but yeah, going on up against the Florida Mayhem, and I'd actually spoken with someone close to the organization and asked them, how they were feeling about this opening game, and the answer was terrified. Terrified. If you think of how Florida performed last season, and this is your first time on stage, the last thing you want to do is lose to a bottom tier team from season one. Even if they're rebuilt, that stuff stays with you. And the energy there and the fact that we came out, not only did we 4-0 them, we got to see DeFran come out on the tour and just fulfill so many dreams of so many people. And just from beginning to end, that night, the opening matches, the fact that it was a 4-0, first 4-0 in the season, and yeah, it laid a lot of foundation and framework for them moving forward. We're talking about them being an emotional team. Well, that's a hell of a way to start the season.
for sure. I mean, you had the very first thing we ever got to see out of this team was Fran on the Torbjorn. Like that was the first look at the Atlanta Rain on the Overwatch League stage, and it was just such a great moment. Everybody, I mean, I've seen the videos. You were there in person. Everybody was going crazy in that moment. And then we got the iconic post-match interview where, with the power of Twitch Prime, I managed to pop off.
Right.
And just everything about that was so memorable. And that's kind of what I was talking about earlier with, DeFran is always going to be remembered as kind of an Atlanta Rain legend, even if he was only around for 7 games. I think that's going to stick with people for a long time. And another thing that in that line of thinking, and probably my favorite moment of the stage has got to be that absolutely bonkers over the roof Graviton surge with the DeFran and Massa hooking up, going over top on Hollywood and just dropping from the sky with it. It was just an iconic play, and something that no one had ever really seen before on a stage like this. And I kind of lost my mind when it happened.
Yeah. Like it's one of those that you're going to be seeing on highlight reels for a long time, like a long time.
Yeah, that's definitely true. DeFran's legacy will always live on, at least through that play. And then the one other thing I wanted to ask you about this stage is, looking back, who would you say is kind of the MVP for the Reign during this stage?
Massa. I'm going to say Massa. I'm going to say that there's some people on the squad that have made some serious clutch plays. There were some people that definitely popped off with the power of Twitch Prime. But when it comes to just sheer consistency of high level play, I was constantly impressed with Massa.
Yeah, I definitely think he was one of the kind of glue guys of this team in a way. Lucio is not always a position where you get a chance to pop off, but Massa really did work there. He was so crucial for this team. I think definitely proved himself as one of the best Lucio players in the league during stage one. And I'm very excited to that we'll get to see him keep playing Lucio during stage 2. And with the changes that have been made to boops in general, he might be able to have even more impact, as crazy as that seems.
Yeah, I absolutely think. I apologize if I've seen a little bit kind of disconnected for the last minute or so. I may have a special announcement to make on the fly.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Ooh.
are you ready for this? Let me
I
see.
get hit me.
Let me see if I can if I have the power to do this. Cool. But yes, so ShyGuy, the surprise that we have finally gotten worked out is the one and only Jared Gilmore from the Atlanta Reign. Jared, thanks for being here.
Howdy, howdy. Happy to be here.
So this is CowboyBeBAMF. You may know him from he was actually at the community showdown and played on stage with a bunch of people you would know and recognize. He has been announced as as a streamer for the Atlanta Reign, and some people may know him in different roles he's been in. I know Mad Men and Once Upon a Time is the big one, but right now you are a major Reign supporter and a streamer. How's everything going with that?
It's going fantastically. I'm so glad that I'm able to support the team in whatever way and be a part of the Overwatch community. Streaming's been so good for me, and I love the Reign, the team, the management. Everyone's been so kind to me and so helpful. Streaming for me has been a good way to spread my love for the game and kind of show people that it is possible to get better at the game, even if you are just like some random actor or something like that. So. Yeah.
Well, as a random actor, I do wish I could get back again. No, it's actually really nice seeing that. Like a lot of times when you watch people, and I saw some people questioning when you get picked up that like he's not 4,500 ranked and da 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 da. Now sometimes it's really nice to not see things that you'll never ever be able to accomplish. So to be encouraged like that, I enjoy watching the stream. But yeah, we were going over our memories from stage 1 and what we thought. Did you have a memory or what was your favorite part of the stage?
I love the team's performance in stage 1. There was some ups and downs as usual. We had a really hot start. Some great games against Mayhem, Toronto. Our first match against Philadelphia was absolutely fantastic. We pushed them to the limit. I mean, yeah, it was a lot of fun. My personal favorite memory from the stage was I got a chance to hang out in the dugout and actually like be there supporting the team, and it was incredible. I was at a few of the matches, got to see the team afterwards and whatnot, and after our wins, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, that's I'm definitely jealous of you being able to be there.
Yeah. So yeah, what we were talking about just right before you hopped on was our stage 1 MVPs for the Reign, and I'm curious if you have like a favorite player or someone who really like stood out to you during the stage.
I mean, watching the games and seeing everything, in the GOATS meta particularly, I've always been one to watch out for the Zenyatta play. I think Dogman did a incredible job in stage 1, really being a solid like heart for the team. And then of course you can't forget about the Fran, who did an absolutely amazing job popping off with the power of Twitch Prime.
Exactly.
But I think Erster and Masa, most of the team performed exceptionally well. I think for me the MVP is still gonna have to be Dogman though. His shot calling and communication was always, from what I've heard, has been key for the team.
Yeah, I think in a big way he was at a lot of times kind of the emotional leader or like center of the team. He was really kind of the heart and soul, I think, in a lot of ways. And I was really impressed by his ability to come in, right before the stage started and really become such a key part of the team. I've been a huge Dogman fan for a long time. That dude is just like the consummate grinder in Overwatch. And to see him finally get into the league and be so successful was one of my favorite parts of this stage.
It was wonderful.
Yeah, and especially like you said, like coming in, being picked up after the rest of the roster, and like you were saying, Jared, that he really brought like a firm heart to the team, like so much emotion and energy that I think really helps. We were talking about how the Reign in general are a very emotional team. Their highs are high, their lows, they struggle with, and I think having someone like Dogman, yeah, that's a good call for MVP. Just on the being able to keep everyone up in positive front. And
yeah.
For me personally, I think I love the choices both of y'all came up with Masa and Dogman. The support line was great. I'm gonna go with I think the other kind of member of the support line when we're talking about goats and go with Erster here, because his consistency was so impressive during the stage, and obviously like Brig is not a hero where people are popping off like crazy, but he really impressed me, and I'm very excited that the meta might finally change soon, and we might get to see him actually play some DPS. What he is known for.
Yeah. Getting him on some projectile DPS just would be a lot of fun to see.
I want to see his Genji and Pharah so bad on the stage. I want to see it so
bad.
Yeah, and speaking of the new meta and the new stage, I mean, we are about to be going in. We got games starting tomorrow night. And it's gonna be really fun, I think, to watch the meta and the way everything unfolds right now, because in my mind this is by far like the biggest patch that has ever hit kind of mid season. Last year the meta wasn't super volatile. Like it stayed roughly the same through most of the stage. Stage 4 was a little bit different, but this time I think we've got changes like across the board with so many heroes getting fine-tuned, and a brand new hero coming into the meta is going to be really interesting to watch.
Yeah, for sure. It's I mean, there's still a lot of talk about how the meta is. A lot of people are still playing goats and scrims, but these are those things that most of the time when the metas would shift, it would be in open division, or it'd be in contenders, and it would finally work its way up. But with them coming in between stages, these teams are going to have to figure things out kind of on the fly and not wait for other teams to figure it out, which that's why I think all these signings and building up a roster to have those internal scrims is going to be, huge for hopefully kind of propelling us in this meta. I think we'll still have a couple weeks of goats, but I'm hopeful that it will shift eventually.
Yeah, I think we're going to be seeing. I'm hoping as a DPS main myself in the game, I'm hoping to see a bit more DPS in this new meta. I think teams like Chengdu were a bit ahead of the curve and already were predicting the new meta, and I think we're going to start seeing a few more comps like that coming out of every team. I think Atlanta is going to adapt well to the changes. I think that even though, like you said, we may be seeing a bit more goats, maybe more Winston-centric goats, that I think DPS, like quad DPS with Hammond and Mercy will be a more viable comp going forward, which I think is going to be a lot of fun to see at that higher level of play.
I'd love to see it. I'd love to see a quad DPS meta come about.
For sure. I mean, I think one thing that'll be, I think the most interesting going forward is how kind of maps play into what the meta is going to be, and how that really shapes different matchups on a week-to-week basis. Yeah. We've got a little bit of a larger map pool with this stage, so things can kind of fluctuate when it comes to that. And I think you're gonna wind up in a situation, at least this is how I kind of foresee things shaking up, is that on certain maps, yes, you're still gonna play goats. On, I think if we see King
Goats Row,
Goats Row.
There's no way that's not goats, a lot of the time. But there's gonna be other opportunities for different things to come out on different maps. So I think it'll really kind of open things up and let teams that are really flexible shine a lot.
I'm terrified of Chengdu, what they're gonna do. That is a scary team.
It's gonna be well. Not only that, but I think this stage will open. A wonderful thing about I think this stage is it gives almost every team that has that DPS, those very good DPS players in their rosters, including Atlanta, where we have Erster and Lair, Baby Bay now.
Baby Bay.
Yeah, we have that chance to actually bring them out and play DPS, and I think it's going to be very interesting. And not only that, like you said, there's an entirely new hero coming into into the meta, and I think Vapsi is gonna open up some way for a lot more interesting comps, especially on some maps. Like you said, there's going to be some maps where he's just not so great, but others where he's going to be a bunker comp centered around a Baptiste is going to be incredibly hard to break. And I can't wait to see it.
With that invincibility frisbee that he can send out, mixed with the wall of death, like those bunker comps are going to be just playing around a corner where you can't get to it. It's going to be, which hopefully that inspires more, flanking characters that try to get behind and take them out. And just, I want to see something shaken up. I'm inventing scenarios now. But
I saw a play on Reddit today where they set up that amplification matrix as ultimate right in front of a bastion that was also getting damage boosted by a mercy.
Oh god!
And the amount of damage it put out, it literally just like melted through an entire team of people in about 3 seconds. It was
nasty.
It was disgusting to watch. And if teams can get creative with his kit, it's gonna create some really, really cool plays.
Good.
Yeah, I'm very excited to see it. Not only that, I've been, even though I'm at a lot lower of a skill level of play, I'm still in the plat diamond range. I've been seeing Bapsi played, and the amount of interesting comps that have been built around him is just insane. And the amount of pop off potential you have with the amplification matrix is absurd. Like for example, you can one tap headshot any target with 250 or 200 health with McCree with the amplification matrix. And not only that, but if you're getting damage boosted, you can one tap someone like Brig or Torbjorn or May, and that gives opportunities for players like Stitch in the Vancouver Titans to just absolutely dominate on McCree, which is a character that's been out of the meta for a while now.
Yeah, he deserves a spot, especially with the buffs coming into his ult and its charge rate and how much it does. I'd love to see. I mean, everybody remembers when we're talking about the big plays. Pine popping off on Ilios in season 1 is iconic on that McCree.
Yeah,
so I'd love to see
the big boss.
Big Boss Pine. That's it. But so yeah, we're rolling in. Hopefully that stuff does cause things to get mixed up, and we are going to be finding out sooner rather than later, because the games start in about 22 hours. Stage 2 starts.
Yeah, 22 hours, 10 minutes, and 10 seconds. No, I'm kidding.
I see you are also on the schedule page. Yes. But yeah, we actually, this is mirroring what we faced coming into stage 1, which is we have a double header. We have 2 games to play this week, and it's going to be against opening with the Boston Uprising tomorrow night, and then on Sunday up against the London Spitfire. Neither of these teams we've really had experience with. So that Boston matchup, what any thoughts going into this?
It's going to be really interesting to me, just because of how different these two teams look from what they were in stage 1. We have got over the last couple of days, Note is now gone from Boston, replaced by RCK, formerly of the Dallas Fuel. Obviously, we've already gone into a lot of depth about all the changes coming to the Reign roster, but how those changes kind of shake out and what these teams actually look like going forward, because these were 2 playoff teams. These were 2 teams that looked very solid in the GOATS meta specifically, and how they adapt to that is going to be fascinating to watch.
Yeah, and especially losing Note is a big deal. Like he's pretty integral to their support line. So I'm interested to see how that affects their synergy. Boston is just surprisingly good at just finding great players and making them synergize well. They managed to pull a lot of tricks out of their bag. But I don't know. I felt relief when I saw that he was traded to Dallas before we played them.
Yeah, I think going up against Boston for our first match will be interesting because Boston's going to be looking a lot different. I mean, in stage one, Fusions was a cornerstone of the team. His shot calling was pretty much integral to their team and winning matches. And not only that, but Note on Diva was incredibly important for them. And getting rid of that, he'd been on the team since season one, and he knew like Gamsoon, he knew the ins and outs of the team, and it'll be interesting to see the team without that support. Not only that, us in Atlanta, we seem to. I think our play style is a lot different from Boston's, where Boston's kind of revolves around these set plays, like these big set plays. We kind of have more of a scrappy play style that is a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, no, I'll agree with that. Talking about the games a lot, that's a word that just continually comes up in my mind is we get spread out, but stay scrappy. Okay, just keep fighting. And that's something, unfortunately, Philadelphia has also figured out. But yeah, I think that Atlanta's really good at that. And with these changes, I have a good feeling about this Boston matchup.
Yeah, certainly.
And, I think we saw during stage one that obviously Fusions is like a nutty Reinhardt when it comes to GOAT specifically. But I think the meta is going to be a little bit more tilted towards Winston this time around, and I think that probably works pretty well for Atlanta because I definitely think Popo is, or at least has the potential to be a top tier Winston in this league.
Okay. I agree. I think Popo is always. I think Popo favors Winston, and I think it's going to be very good to have a meta where it'll be good for Popo to have that meta where he could play that hero.
Yeah, and I think with him on Winston and Dako on the Diva, them just kind of flying around having fun with each other. I love seeing Dako have fun, and every time you ask any member of the team who's the funniest member of the team, without missing a beat, it's Dako, and just. I can almost sense that with him flying around a Diva. It's really funny. Like he just seems to enjoy himself. Like standing on a doorway, shooting into the back of the enemy and stuff. He just seems like he enjoys what he's doing. So yeah, I agree. If we can get more Winston play and stuff, I do think that lends itself well. But props to Fusions for stepping up from the academy after the whole Gamsu situation and making what he did out of it. I think he's a great tank player.
Yeah,
exactly.
For them to make stage playoffs was really impressive.
Yeah. And another matchup I'm going to be excited to see in the match is if the meta shifts in a certain way where we're going to be seeing snipers. Color Hex jumped out and showed us that he can Widow. I think it'd be really cool to see a good old fashioned Widow off between our friend Enlair and Color Hex at some point in the match.
For sure, or maybe even Baby Bay, who
maybe
knows?
even Baby Bay.
I want to see Enlair on that. I want to see Enlair pop
yeah.
up. I feel like he's been caged, and I want the man unleashed. But we do the thing now where, and I think we can go first this time. But I'm going to put you on the spot for the Spitfire. What do you think that the spread is going to be? Who do you think is going to win? We can start with ShyGuy. What do you think?
I think this is going to be it's really hard to say exactly how this is going to play out, but in my mind, this is going to be a really close game no matter how it goes down. So given that is, kind of the way I'm leaning, I think it goes to a map 5, and I think Atlanta will take it in a 3-2.
Interesting. Okay, that's good. I also obviously think Atlanta's going to win because that's kind of what I do. It could be up against New York or Vancouver, and Atlanta's going to win always. But in this game in particular, I think that the synergy is going to be called into question a little bit with Boston and the trades. If Winston especially is played a lot, I think Popo has the advantage. I think that it will be tight games, but I think we get out of there with a 3-1. I don't think we'll make it to map 5. I think they'll win either the second or third map, kind of somewhere in the middle. But I think at the end of the day, we'll walk away with it not looking as close as it will probably be.
I agree with. I think I agree with a 3-1. I think that. Depending on how Boston is looking coming into this first match with their roster changes, or with the roster change, and of course the monkey matchup, it'll be interesting to see. We've always been strong on control, so I think our chance of taking the first map is very high. And then going forward, I agree that Boston may take off that hybrid or 2CP map just because of how their team has always played. But I think we're going to end in a 3-1 in favor of us.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely see that. I just think that there's so much up in the air right now that it is almost impossible to accurately predict.
I think we're both also saying that like it's going to be close enough that like even at the end of the day, if it is a 3-1, it's going to be a don't just look at the score. That game's close.
Yeah, and there's been so many games like that, even in stage 1, where it's just like don't look at the score. These have been incredibly close matches, even though your team got 4-0'd. It was neck and neck most of the time.
Yeah, for sure.
And so then, let's move on to London here, and as Norcetto said, we got to stick to it. We're gonna have to put you on the spot this time around. What are you thinking for the game?
I think going up against London, especially depending on how the meta shift is going to be, I'm going to say we're going to be coming out on top, but I think this is going to be a very close match. I'm going to say
this is where London finds themselves.
Yeah, I think I'm thinking 3-2 in our favor. I most certainly think this is going to it's going to go to a map 5. Gesture is a fantastic main tank player, but he's always been if Winston's more preferable in the meta, Gesture's always seemed to be a better Winston to me than he has been a Reinhardt. So I think that's going to be scary. And not only that, but you have London coming in with some very notable DPS players. But I think if we stick to our fundamentals and our synergies, that we'll be able to pull through the 3-2 victory.
Yeah. Oh man, see, it's funny you say that because I'm sitting here and I was very confident. I already wrote a little pre-week primer thing where I said that we were going to win 3-1, and I'm sitting here thinking of Prophet. I'm sitting here thinking of Bergering. And then we have this talk about Winston supremacy, and we talk about Gesture, and I'm like, damn it, he's right.
that dude is good.
God. So yeah, I think you've convinced me, man. Think I'm gonna slide over to a game 5. I still think we take it, but now I'm slightly more nervous about that monkey matchup. Thanks, man.
I'm sorry. It's just
no, you're right. You're right.
Yeah, I know. It's just one of those things where watching the stage 1, London's performance throughout it has been very interesting. Their goats just hasn't seemed as strong as some other teams, and but whenever they've got the chance to put Gesture on Monkey, their team looks so much stronger. So I think that's going to play in huge coming into this next stage.
For sure. I mean, I've been beating this drum for a long time, like even going back into season 1. But I think London, when they are playing at their peak, is the most talented team in the Overwatch League. Like if every player on that team is firing on all cylinders, they are hard to beat. Like and we saw that in the stage 1 playoffs, in the season 1 playoffs. They really kind of stepped it up to another level, and they kind of dominated for the most part during the playoffs last year. So when they can hit those peaks, they are absolutely scary. But in stage 1, we never really saw it. They were up and down the entire time. They never really found their footing in the GOATS meta. It wasn't something they were ever really comfortable with. And I'm not sure that we're going to see enough of a shakeup, at least in week 1, for them to kind of suddenly turn things around. That being said, the points about Winston definitely make me a little bit wary here, because Gesture is just an absolute beast on that hero.
Why do you have to be so right? He's so good.
Yeah, it's not going to be a fun day for Popo, even if he is an incredible Winston in his own right. But that being said, I still think this probably goes in Atlanta's direction. This is another one where I just have an incredibly hard time predicting this. And I'm going to be honest, if my prediction for this one probably depends on how our first game goes. If we take down Boston and we are able to win that series, then I'm going to have a little more confidence in Atlanta, continuing to be a strong team this stage. And I definitely think they take it at that point. But if we lose, this is very much a toss up for me. But for now, I'll lock in the 3-2 as well.
All right, we're good on that.
We're on the same page here.
Yeah, just that it's going to be really tight, and we're scared of
yeah.
That's what I've gathered from this. Yeah, it's I'm gonna do a way out prophecy here, and we're gonna come back to this one at the end of the stage. I have a feeling we're actually gonna do really well against London while the meta's still shaking out and a lot of goats is still played. But by the end of the stage, we're gonna be looking around. We're gonna be having this discussion going, man, they figured it out, didn't they? And London's going to be one of the teams we're looking at facing in the stage finals.
I can agree.
Yeah. But all right, that just about wraps up what we have to talk about until we get into stage 2. You guys have anything else to add before we jump back into the fun that is the Overwatch League?
No, I mean, I think it's been nice to have a week off to handle some things in real life, because that does actually exist. Life outside of Overwatch does exist.
IRL is a thing.
I'm super pumped to be back into it.
Who thought that was a good idea?
I'm ready for it. It was just long enough to make me ready for more and just clamoring for more and more games. So I'm pumped for this weekend to get going. And I want to say thanks to you, Jared, for joining us. It's cool to have an official Atlanta range streamer. You're now basically co-workers with the Fran, by the way.
I know. Well, when everything happened with the Fran, I was like, I understand the retirement, and I think that's what made him happy. I understand you guys talked about this earlier in the podcast, but then I was like, but now me and him are on the same team, so I'm okay with this.
This is a best possible scenario for you. You can basically walk around and be like, I'm basically the friend. You guys know that, right?
Yeah, and it's an incredible experience for me, having the chance to be a new streamer, having the chance to grow under within the Rain family, and having this community to be a part of. And it's wonderful to have the chance to actually. I'm obsessed with this game. No matter what, Overwatch is probably my favorite game of all time.
I feel you.
No matter how the meta is, no matter how toxic people can be in game, I am so excited to see how it evolves and how the game progresses, and I'm going to be there all the while. So
that beautiful. I share the sentiment, and I love hearing positivity come out like that. I'm happy for you, man. I was really excited when I saw that you got that picked up. Obviously, I followed you a bit since you've been doing events with the Rain and everything, and I love having just like an advocate for the teams that's so into it, and you can tell you love the game, and yeah, I'm really happy to have you on the squad, man.
Of course, and I'm always happy to join in and help you guys out in whatever way I can.
That's awesome.
We appreciate it.
Well, I guess we can wrap this one up. I am Norcetto. You can find me on Twitter at Norcetto, and I make videos sometimes on YouTube, also at Norcetto. Just type in Norcetto into the internet. You'll find me. I'm one of those links.
Yeah, I'm at ShyGuy Overwatch. Before I forget, I just remembered this. We are actually finally, after a really long and arduous battle, we are finally on iTunes.
Hey!
It has
Huzzah!
finally happened.
Huzzah!
So you can now find us on all the usual podcasting apps, whatever one is your favorite. And if you are so inclined, we would really appreciate it if you left us a rating or review. It definitely helps us get noticed and climb up and have more people join in our little community here.
Fantastic community at that.
And you want to do your where can we find you on the internets?
Yes, my name is Jared Gilmore. You can find me at Jared_Gilmore on Twitter. or as CowboyBeBAMF on Twitch. I am the youngest, and proud to be newest streamer for the Atlanta Reign. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, definitely check him out. And that about wraps it up for us, guys.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us, everybody.
Thank you, Cadley.
And let it rain.
Let it rain.
I want to play you another one.
Really? Yes. Really? Yes. Yes. Yes.
I want to play you another recording.
Really?